The paper must be reviewed thoroughly and appropriately.
The beggar was laughed at by the children. The information you need for this meeting is on the website. The percentage of respondents who knew that the Earth circles the Sun once each year remained essentially unchanged.
Training covers a range of scenarios that an actor might encounter. Becoming a good actor requires persistence and motivation.
You are recommended to only use footnotes when they are necessary.
This teaching method provides the opportunity for students to learn by completing tasks.
This type of butterfly travels to a country with a warmer climate in winter.
A company may have the same legal rights as a person,
It wasn't until the late 15th century that composers really gave much attention to instrumental music. Before that, vocal music was most common and instruments were really treated just as an accompaniment to singers. Instruments were played really just as a guide for the singer's benefit. It was only in the late 15th century that instruments were seen as having real musical potential of their own. Composers started to produce music for them and to write background parts for songs, which didn't just repeat the singer's notes. There were several reasons for this change, one of which has to be the refinements that were made to the instruments themselves. If we look at keyboard instruments, for example, organs had been around since classical times, but by the late 1400s, they had become much more sophisticated. Another reason was the popularity of dancing. Dances were becoming more intricate, a number of new ones became popular, and of course, they all needed instrumental music to accompany them. This, of course, is the Shard, London's tallest building, and we might even say London's news symbol. It's worth studying, not just for the way it blends into the London skyline, but because several new engineering techniques were pioneered. It was built. One was the so-called top-down construction, which basically means that the foundations were dug and the concrete center of the building was put up at the same time, at least as far as the 23rd story. This reduced the construction time by 3 months. Although this wasn't an entirely new thing, it had certainly never been used for a skyscraper before. Then there was the use of the building's permanent lift shaft during construction, with the lift jumping higher as the building became taller. That was thought to be the best way to transport people and materials up and down, rather than using any outside construction. And I should also mention the spire, which gives the famous shattered glass appearance. Rather than being lifted up in one piece, it was assembled 300 meters in the air at the top of the building.
What is the building in which people are legally held as punishment for a crime?
What do you call a geometric shape with 5 sides?
How many sides does an octagon have?
What do people wear on their head to protect themselves when traveling on a motorbike? What piece of equipment does a doctor use to listen to your heart?
A tutor supports as 2 students collaborate on a digital literacy presentation with enthusiasm.
Now,
I'd like you to discuss your ideas for the presentation on digital literacy. Focus on what you've read so far, any case studies you're using, and how you'll organize your points. I'll listen in and guide you as needed.
So, James, I think focusing on digital literacy in schools makes it really relevant. It's surprising how many students still don't know how to fact-check online sources.
Yeah, I read a report saying over 40% of high school students can't distinguish between news articles and sponsored content. That's huge.
That's a strong statistic to include. It highlights the urgency. Think about how you'll introduce that early to grab attention.
I was thinking we could start with a short quiz for the audience to show how tricky it can be to spot misinformation. Maybe ask them to decide if certain posts are real or fake.
Yeah, using examples from social media would work well. We could include screenshots and get people to vote on whether they think the info is reliable.
Great interactive idea. Just make sure to cite your sources and get permission for any content you use. What's your structure looking like?
I was thinking we'd start by defining digital literacy, then move into examples of misinformation, and finish with current solutions schools are using.
And we can definitely include Finland's curriculum. They're a great model for teaching critical thinking and media awareness.
Excellent example. If you compare that with countries that lack such programs, it will strengthen your argument.
That's what I thought. We could also mention some challenges, like lack of teacher training or outdated policies.
True. And maybe add a section about how digital literacy connects to employability. I found some data showing it helps young people succeed in modern workplaces.
That's an important angle. Try to show how digital literacy isn't just a school skill, but a life skill.
Agreed. I can work on drafting the introduction and creating the quiz slides.
And I'll gather visuals and finish researching that case study from the UK.
Sounds like you're off to a strong start. Don't forget to end with a clear takeaway message or call to action, maybe something that encourages schools to implement cross-subject digital literacy.
Good idea. We could also provide a short resource list for teachers, some free tools or sample lesson plans.
Yes. That way it's not just informative but also practical.
I like the direction you're heading in. Once you've got a rough draft, I'll be happy to review it and give feedback. Keep up the good collaboration.
Students discuss their future careers, motivations, and the importance of planning after graduation.
Hey guys, the career fair just reminded me that I should do some research on my future career. Have you thought about what you want to do after graduation?
Yeah, I've been considering a career in charity. I really enjoy working with people as a volunteer. I've done this before and I really had a great time. I know the wage is low, but actually it is all I want to do after graduation. Currently, I don't want to care about the money or some high positions in a big company.
That sounds interesting. While I'm thinking of pursuing a career in a big company, I've always had a passion for working in a famous firm. You know, there are more opportunities. I can get better training, and I may get promoted. The first job after graduation should be well considered. A good platform is indeed the first choice for me.
That's great. I am not as ambitious you are, but I believe we will all have a bright future. To be honest, my parents, after knowing my thoughts, worried that I might not be able to afford my rent.
Rent? Don't you think that it's just too far away? I have no idea about my future. I'm only a junior student. My only concern now is the psychological courses that I'm taking.
Really? You haven't thought about your life after graduation yet? Taking precautions is vital for a student. Not to mention, there's only 1 year ahead of it. I highly suggest you do some research in the coming holiday, at least to know what you are good at and what you are not.
I agree. You should plan ahead. Otherwise, you may feel regret for it.
Fine. I'll do some research. Maybe I'll start with career tests or speaking with alumni.
That's a good idea. Talking to people with experience really gives helpful insights.
And internships too. They let you explore the work environment before fully committing.
Thanks, everyone. I guess it's time I stop putting it off.
How do you handle a situation where your landlord has not only proposed an unreasonable rent increase, but also plans to implement additional charges for amenities that were previously included in your rent, such as parking and utilities, without making any significant improvements to the property or providing new services?
You and 3 classmates have been assigned a group project that requires everyone to research and prez parts of the topic. But despite multiple reminders and scheduled meetings, One group member has not submitted any work, nor replied to any messages, leaving the rest of you worried about how this will impact the final outcome and your grades. How would you approach this member to address the issue and also communicate with the rest of your team to keep everyone motivated?